Get your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.teachucomp.com/free.
Overlays panel in Lightroom Classic CC lets you add an identity plate, a copyright watermark, ratings, text, and metadata to slides within the Slideshow module. An identity plate is used to provide identifying information about yourself to others. You can apply identity plates you save to the content you create in the Slideshow, print, and web modules. To add an identity plate to a slideshow, first expand the Overlays panel. Then check the Identity Plate checkbox at the top of the panel to add an identity plate to the upper left corner of the slideshow in the Slide Editor view. If you have already created and saved identity plates you want to use, then click the Preview image of the identity plate in the Overlays panel or the drop-down in its lower right corner, and then select the name of the saved identity plate to apply from the drop-down menu. To create a new identity plate or customize the existing identity plate, either click the Identity Plate preview in the Overlays panel or click the small triangle in its lower right corner, and then choose the Edit command from the drop-down menu to open the Identity Plate Editor dialog box. First, you must select whether to create a text identity plate or use an existing graphic as your identity plate by selecting either the Use a Styled Text Identity Plate or Use a Graphical Identity Plate option button. If you choose the Use a Styled Text Identity Plate option, then click into the white text field that appears below that option button and type the text to show in the identity plate. To format the text, click and drag over the text to format to select it. Then use the Font, Font Style, and Font Size drop-downs below the field, as well as the adjacent Font Color chip, to set the font face and color of the selected text in the field. If you chose the Use a Graphical Identity Plate option button, then either click and drag an image from your computer's File Explorer onto the Click Here or Drag an Image into this space field, or click the same field, or click the Locate File button underneath the field. Doing either of the last two actions opens the Locate File dialog box, which you can then use to find and select the image to use, and then click the Choose button to close the dialog box and add the image to the identity plate. If you try to add an image that is too large, Lightroom advises you to choose another image. If you want to clear the image after adding it, you can click the Clear Image button below the identity plate preview and then start over by adding a new graphic. To apply your current identity plate, click the OK button in the Identity Plate Editor dialog box when finished. If you want to save your identity plate for future use, then click the drop-down in the lower left corner of the Identity Plate Editor dialog box and choose the Save As command to open the Save Identity Plate As dialog box. Type a name for the identity plate into the name field, and then click the Save button in this dialog box. If you click the same drop-down in the lower left corner of the Identity Plate Editor dialog box, you can now select the name of the saved identity plate. As mentioned at the start of this lesson, this choice then also becomes an option that you can select in the future by clicking the Identity Plate Preview or the drop-down arrow in its lower right corner within the Overlays panel and then selecting the name of the saved identity plate. If you want to delete the saved identity plate, click the drop-down in the lower left corner of the Identity Plate Editor dialog box and choose the name of the custom identity plate to delete from the drop-down menu. Then click the same drop-down again and choose the Remove command. Then click the Remove button in the Confirm dialog box. After selecting an identity plate, you can then use the sliders in the Overlays panel to adjust the appearance of the identity plate in slides. If you choose a text identity plate and want to override its color for the slideshow, you can check the Override Color checkbox and then click the adjacent color chip to the right to select a color to apply from the Override Color pop-up menu. Simply drag the slider at the right side of this pop-up color menu upward to show the colors in the palette to the left. You can then click a color in the palette to apply. When finished, click the X button in the upper left corner of the pop-up color menu to close it. For both text and graphic identity plates, the Opacity Slider in the Overlays panel lets you adjust the transparency of the identity plate. The Scale slider lets you adjust the size of the identity plate relative to the size of the slide. Checking the Render Behind Image checkbox option only shows the identity plate on parts of the slide outside of the image cell as the plate appears behind the image. This helps if you don't want the identity plate to overlay slide images. However, if you then need to move the identity plate to a different area of the slide in order to show it, you can click to select the identity plate within the slide editor, and then drag it to a new place within the slide.
Like what you see? Pick up your free copy of the complete tutorial at www.teachucomp.com/free.